Okay, we're back. First off, any questions, comments, or observations about the first things we talked about? Now, we talked about, first and foremost, who do you listen to? And I suggested that of the thousands of books you could read on similar subjects to this, you really can't read those books or listen to those people because these people don't know the information, and the evidence is that they don't know it, is that just look at their own life. They haven't achieved what they're teaching. When it comes to making money, the people that are reading books on how to make money don't have any money, they haven't made any money, and the only money that they've made is by selling books on how to get rich. So they haven't done anything in real life. It's all theory. The super wealthy that write books, quote, don't write the books, don't even know what's in the books. And if they did, they're not going to share with you the true information anyway because they have a basic belief that this information should not be shared to the general public. And they don't want to do that because they don't want the competition. So who do you listen to? I would suggest the information you're going to get this weekend is valuable. Why? Because it's not coming from me, an individual guru. It's coming from the collective amount of information from the secret societies. And we have here as members, 33-degree member of the Freemasons. We have members of Skull and Bones that have come forward. First time ever in history that members of these secret societies have come forth. Obviously, they're not making themselves known to the public, but the first time these people have ever come forward and releasing this information and sharing this information, and they're backing me up on releasing this information. Myself from the Brotherhood and some of the other secret societies, the Illuminati and so forth, we have members now part of this group that are taking this information and sharing it with you. So this information, I think, is the purest information you'll get on this subject and how to make money tomorrow. How do you know? Look at the evidence. And obviously those here can see the evidence, but this information obviously works. It has worked better and faster, has the longest track record, most amount of history, but most importantly, the evidence is real. You can see it. It's not myth. It's not fantasy. So who do you listen to? Talked about the teachability index. How teachable are you? What is your willingness to learn on a scale of 1 to 10? And what is your willingness to accept change? So anything on those two basic points? Question? Yes. Question was about other books written. And question was specifically about some of the great books out there that give stories that maybe the person who wrote the book isn't super wealthy. They don't claim to be, but they claim to be a teacher. And are those books good? Because those people maybe don't have the desire to become billionaires. Therefore, if they don't have that desire, there's nothing wrong with that. But can't we listen to what they're saying because that information sounds really, really good? That's a very good question. And here's the answer. When you read books, and I'll give you one book, The Celestine Prophecy, and you read books like that, these books tell stories that never happened. Isn't that true? These books give you a myth. They are a book that is a fable. It is a story about a non-existent person in a non-existent place where non-existent things happen. These are not biographies. These are not autobiographies. These are made up stories, and there's no secret that they're made up. The authors have some convoluted, whacked out theory of how success works, how the physical universe works, how Earth works, how the universe works, how energy works, how success works, how happiness works, how manifesting dreams and desires work. They have this theory of how these things work. And it is a theory. And in order to prove their theory, they haven't done it themselves. So what they say is, I don't want. I have no desire. So don't look at me. I have all the desires of my life. And that's maybe true. Maybe they do have all the desires of their life, which is fine. They all have very small desires, though. They all have small dreams, which I think is a little bit interesting. Sometimes there's something called justification. I don't want a big house. I like my small house. I don't want a new car. I like my 15-year-old car. Sometimes we justify that we don't want something when in fact it's because we believe we can't get it. So these people have these ideas about how this stuff works, and in order to teach it, they have to make up a story about a person and how this person goes through their made-up life and how things happen in their made-up life, which prove this person's theory is true. And we read this book and maybe it's really, really well written and we like the book and it's a great book and we enjoy it. The problem is it never happened. The story you're reading about is made up. And again, it's no secret it's made up. They're not trying to, convince you that it's real. It's a fable. It's a myth. It's a made-up story. They say, well, I'm using this as an example. It can't be an example because it had never happened. If their theory of how things happen are true, why do they have to make up a story? Why can't they just point to a real person and share with you a real person's story and give a real life example of that happening? The answer is because there isn't a real person who ever achieved their desires in the manner in which these books are presenting. The information in the books are fake. The recipe is fake. The recipe for success doesn't work. Because if it did work, they would have a real life example. Does that make sense? Yeah. That's why I brought you here, so you could meet real people. And we're not talking theory. We're going to be sharing with you real experiences in the real world. And everything that you're taught this weekend, the examples that you're going to be getting are from real people, not a myth, not a fantasy. That's the big difference. And that's a very good question. Any other questions? Yes. Teachability index. Okay. All right. For those of you on the CD that can't hear the question was on teachability index. The question was, how do you know that you have a high teachability index? How can you know that you have a high willingness to learn? And how can you know that you have a high willingness to accept change? Maybe you think you have a high willingness to learn, but you really don't. There's two answers to that. The first answer is, what are you willing to give up? What's your favorite thing? This is a simple test. If one of your favorite things is golfing, are you willing to put the golf clubs away for a year? Are you willing to, if your favorite thing is watching TV, are you willing to not watch TV for a week? Or if you watch X number of hours a night, are you willing to cut down to 1 hour a night or a half an hour a night? What's your favorite TV show? Let's be real specific here. What's your favorite TV show that you have to watch all the time? Are you willing not to watch it for a year? That'll tell you what your willingness to learn is. What's your favorite thing? Are you willing to give it up? That'll really tell you what your willingness to learn is. Now the question is, what if I want a high willingness to learn, but I just can't seem to motivate myself to give up the things I love the most? Can I still have a high willingness to learn? The answer is yes. First, you have to determine where your teachability index is right now. If it's not 10 and 10, 10 willingness to learn, 10 willingness to accept change, doesn't mean you go home. Doesn't mean you shut the CDs off and say, forget it, I can't learn this. I don't have a high willingness to learn. It just means that you have to acknowledge that I don't have a high willingness to learn. Let's say that you want to play golf and you've never golfed before. Well, that means you're starting at a very, very bad place. You've never played golf before. So you want to play a round of golf and you want to enjoy yourself, but you've never played golf before. So going on a golf course, you're going to be hacking up the course. You're probably going to be miserable. Your goal is to have a great time playing golf. That's okay, because you know I'm starting here. So the point is, your goal, and this is important that you understand this, your goal is always the first thing in front of you. Some of you think your goal is to manifest your desires. Some of you think your goal is to learn this information. Some of you think your goal is to make $1 million. No, that's not true. Everyone's goal, everyone's first objective is different. It's the first thing in front of you. Which means if you are a 10 and 10, your goal is not to get 100% teachability index. You're there. So your goal is going to be the next step from there. But if you're sitting over here and your goal and you acknowledge that your teachability index is 5 and 5, only 25%, your goal then is to get to 100% teachability index. That is your objective. Do you understand that? Key point. Your objective, your goal, what you focus on is always what's in front of you, what the next step is. So the first step, if we stepped these out, the first step is you need to decide who should you listen to. Are you going to listen to the gurus who write the books that make up stories because they can't find a real person on planet Earth that actually did what they think is the secret to success? Because if their secret to success is so true, let's find one person that did it. I read this one book, this guy, the secret to his success, the way to be successful, to make money, you have to breathe and you have to meditate and you have to let it come to you. Let it come to you. Sit and let it come to you. And he gave all these stories of these people throughout history that he made up. These are all fables. Well, guess what? I said, if that's true, let's find, there's a bunch of billionaires around today. Let's find one of the billionaires who sat in his room and went and meditated all day, and his billions came to him. There isn't one. They worked their ass off. They worked hard. They were obsessed with making money, and they put a lot of effort into it and a lot of focus. They didn't sit around meditating all day saying the universe is going to give me the stuff. I was listening to this goofy. By the way, I hope, and we